Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. I'm here as always with my good friend Dan Wiseman. Dan, it's just not good tonight, is it? It's just not been a good day.
No, it's been a bad one for you, mate. We're running on fumes here tonight on the Villa Filler podcast. Dan's having to go, as he said before he came on it, off the ice. You're having some internet struggles over there, aren't you, my man? So
It's not
this is
good.
the usual. No tales of XG, I imagine tonight. Unfortunately,
No XG. I don't want to look at the XG tonight, mate.
oh.
I don't even want to. So you've got the night off, XG, mate. You've got the night off.
No, it was no, to be fair, mate, it's one where if you were going to have one game to miss out on seeing the stats afterwards, it was probably this one because it didn't read particularly pretty. Um, as you can well imagine tonight, not the best game for the Villa boys, but not their worst, I would say. I think the first half, and I think, I want to be impartial here on the Villa podcast, as always, and top this pod by just saying, fair play to West Ham. What a performance from them. To a man, I thought they were excellent tonight. I thought they were really organised. I thought they provided a whole host of problems for the Villa. And even I think if Villa were our best, they would have given us a real game tonight. I don't think they got the best of Villa. I don't think they got the worst. But I think we certainly got the best of West Ham. And I think you've got us, sort of taught this podcast by saying that I think that's the best West Ham side I've ever seen Villa play in recent years.
Yeah, no, they came to Villa Park and really caught Villa off guard. We saw that in West Ham's last game against Liverpool, whereby Klopp made the slight tactical adjustment of playing a 4-4-2 diamond, which really caught West Ham off guard with their back three, just because of Liverpool's personnel issues. Thought they'd change it up, keep West Ham on their toes, and throughout that game, they didn't really lay a glove on West Ham. So they've come into this game tonight against Villa at Villa Park, and they've caught Villa off guard. They've changed their formation. They went and matched Villa in many ways, and really playing Fredericks and Kufal on that right hand side to nullify the threat of Jack Grealish did the job. David Moyes, reading from the Marcelo Bielsa playbook on how to beat Villa at Villa Park. It's a shock that Villa haven't actually lost as many games as they have so far this season, when there's been two glaringly obvious blueprints of how to overcome Aston Villa, especially at home. It's a frustrating one to take tonight, Dan, but from the get-go, you were seeing Jesse Lingard aggressively pressing. He's well up for it. He's not played a Premier League game in like a year and a half or something like that. He's had minutes here and there in the Europa League. He's not scored for Manchester United in the longest time. And, funnily enough, a player who we spoke about on the Transfer Rumour podcast, Dan, who I think out of the two of us, I was certainly more open to the move, and everyone in the comments was well against it. Now, where are you guys at, man? 2 goals against the Villa, Jesse Lingard doing bits. He really did. He exuded that kind of new signing energy that's really important. He played really well. It doesn't come as much of a surprise to me at all. But what did, Dan, was the severe lack of intensity from our Villa boys tonight, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. West Ham were to a man the whole game. I know this is a sort of really basic observation, but it just crediting West Ham. It just felt like we were playing against 12 men.
Yeah.
In every department, it just seemed like we were just coming up against brick walls. Fredericks and Kufal on Villa's on West Ham's right, Villa's left was a masterstroke, because I don't think what I've seen, but Jack Grealish less involved in a Premier League game for a long, long time. I mean, whoever's West Ham scout is to Central Europe, that man deserves a pay rise. Picking up Kufal and Souček. Souček, I think he's taking penalties away. Sorry, you're not any Bruno fans that are listening. He's the top scoring midfielder in the Premier League this season. And he's been, just seems in every game, he's managing to find the onion bag. West Ham played with an intensity and an organisation that left me, and it's funny you mentioned Marcelo Bielsa in that Leeds game, because it's a similar feeling I came away with afterwards, just feeling we just lost to a far better team out there.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair.
Yeah, there wasn't really, from the Villa, I think we were a little bit stagnant defensively. And I think the win that we had in the Southampton game masked how we were overrunning midfield in that game too. I think that's 2 games in a row now where I felt that Villa have struggled to live up to a midfield battle and truly contest. And I know West Ham's midfield with Rice and Souček and the like, who I was surprised. Souček plays a lot higher up the pitch than you'd think, doesn't he? I mean, he gets all of these goals, which you sort of think, but he sort of operates in a 10 at points, and that's quite a sight. But it's a very physical West Ham midfield. And John McGinn, unfortunately, just got lost out there.
Physicality is the key word for me, Dan, tonight. Looking at Villa, the midfield didn't exist for the whole game. And I don't really think, they left the defence to hang out and dry. They really let the defence down tonight. There's going to be a lot of naysayers, Tyrone Mings haters again. It's just not. I'm not having that discussion again, man. But I feel like it's becoming a weekly occurrence. The midfield severely let down the Villa defence tonight. It was frustrating because, as Leeds have proved, as Brighton have proved, if you want to win at Villa Park, press aggressively. Like, we're not talking like half press. We're not talking, just press up onto the halfway line. You've got to press right on top of Villa because, when that press is high, John McGinn, Ross Barkley, they're nowhere to be seen. They're completely missing in action, and it forced the defenders to play constant long balls all night, Dan. It was really quite troublesome for Villa, and again, another reason why it's leaving the defence out to dry, because Mings is having to play these long balls, and Villa don't have that kind of physicality, as you alluded to, like someone like Declan Rice has or Thomas Souček has in that midfield, whereby they're not going to, Barkley and McGinn aren't going to be winning headers on these long balls that Tyrone Mings is playing. And a point on Declan Rice, I've constantly tried to avoid the subject of Declan Rice because I've not quite formed an opinion of him yet. I've got to say, I know West Ham won. It's like he's playing Soccer Aid, man. Like, he does everything right. It's just it doesn't look right at all. Like, he's a Soccer Aid player, man. But that's my opinion on Declan Rice, as I'm sure everybody has been waiting so patiently for, because I've constantly been treading on eggshells with Declan Rice. But no, Soccer Aid baller at his best, man. But listen, Dan, the first goal, it's a really frustrating one for Villa to concede, isn't it? Talk us through that.
Yeah, it was some again. I mean, I don't want to come on this podcast and be too flattering of West Ham, but they just played through us like we weren't there. I mean, it's a really nice ball from Side Benrahma and a really good finish from Souček. But Villa, you got the sense that we're not. I don't want to say that we allowed it to happen, but that goal was coming for a long time, I felt. And when it came, it was no surprise it came in the manner that it did, or that the man that got it, there was no surprise there either. But the tides had been coming in against Villa for a long time. And whilst Dean made that half-time substitution, I feel like making those man-for-man switches like Bertrand for El Ghazi and the like weren't really going to do anything, because I think we were having systematic problems. It was a formational issue that needed to change. Villa needed to change on far more than a personnel level. And so when the goal came, I can't say I was massively surprised, but it caught me a little bit by surprise. But no, it was a nice goal, I have to say, and credit to that sort of system and setup from West Ham that allows Benrahma to come inside. You've got all kinds of problems. Antonio is a big handful. I mean, amongst the J. Lings, 2 goals and whatnot. It's another 2 assists for Michail Antonio tonight, and I'd know that because he's up front in my FPL. But when the goal came, you couldn't really feel too angry, mate, because it probably could have come a lot earlier than that.
Yeah, it could have, and it's the lack of plan B that worries me. I know a lot of people, like I've seen yourself tweet, Dan, and you've said on this podcast so far, West Ham outplayed us. And a lot of people are kind of like, okay, let's close that book, move on to the next game. But it's actually quite worrying because, as you say, that Southampton game, we were hanging on for dear life. That was real backs to the wall defending, and not because we were desperately trying to hang on to we were desperately trying to hang on to this lead, but Villa weren't doing enough going forwards, and we weren't seeing these game changes. The game management of this game was completely atrocious. I think the way Villa set up. And, I appreciate West Ham caught us off guard, as I said earlier, with the formation and how they set up. But I feel really bad for El Ghazi. We all know his favoured position is on the left. It's a difficult one because you can't move Jack because that's his best position. If you wanted to change something, though, why not just give it a go in game? Put Anwar out on the left, see Jack on the right. We saw Jack get his assist on the right with a wonderful ball, by the way. Get Jack away from that physicality, the battle that was, constantly. He was constantly met with Kufal on that right hand side. It was like the two of them were going at war the whole game, and we didn't really see much of Jack. We would have seen him with a lot less pressure on Aaron Cresswell when he plays at left back. Is arguably one of the worst left backs in the league. I think it's fair to say. We've seen him kind of revitalise his career at West Ham, playing in this left centre back role in the 5-back that they've been playing. But left back, you would fancy Jack, isolating Cresswell, getting the better of him more than he would with Kufal. So it's these little changes in game that frustrate me. And as you say, bringing a like-for-like change on. Bertrand seemed to start the game when he came on. He ran. There was a bit of intensity, but again, he went missing like plenty of other Villa players did, Dan. And I know Douglas Luiz was booked. It made sense bringing him off later on. Then, bringing off Barkley, who probably arguably should have came off earlier. When the problem is the formation, and you've clearly not got the men in the midfield who are doing the work, and you're not seeing them bodies transition forward as well. Making like-for-like substitutions isn't going to change anything, really. It's not. You needed to either pack that midfield, or I don't know. Just as I say, just change the little things like Anwar on the left, Jack on the right. Something different. It's this game management or lack of that from Dean that has actually had me quite worried over the past few games. And by no means is this a Dean out or whatever. Before people get all irate in the comments. It's just naivety on Dean's behalf, I'd say, Dan.
Yeah, for sure, mate. And look, one thing I do want to highlight is West Ham. It was only really when I saw the players that they were bringing on that you note the bench and the squad that they're starting to put together. I mean, on the bench, you've got Andrei Yarmolenko, Manuel Lanzini, Pablo Fornals, Jared Bowen, Issa Diop. That's a really nice set of players, and for a club of, when I said West Ham stature, you sort of know, considering where they were at the end of the last season, that's a really nice talent pool that you can dive into. And I think that gives them the ability to not only see out games like they did today, it also gives them the ability to change games. But as West Ham go from game to game, the problems or the lack of, therefore, for them are similar. I was so impressed by how they did it against the Villa tonight. I mean, despite having far less possession, we only got 2 shots on target against West Ham, which is, funnily enough, the same amount that Everton managed against West Ham. It's the same amount that West Brom managed against West Ham. It's the same amount that Doncaster managed against them in the FA Cup. It's the same amount that Crystal Palace managed against them. West Ham just can shut teams out like this. And I thought, when we've seen that resolute nature that West Ham play with in so many recent games, it should have been a sign for Villa to do that little bit more, as you were talking about, mate, to have that tactical plan B. And it's actually funny when you and I were talking about comparing the 08-09 side to the current side in our Football Manager stream and just off air generally. We noted a lack of plan B in both. I mean, plan B for Martin O'Neill was always Emil Heskey at 70 minutes. And for Dean Smith, it seems it's Trezeguet for, one of 2 players. And that problem with Villa and Dean's, we've ultimately built a squad to play 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1.
Yeah.
Like that, those formations are like what we've centered recruitment around. It's what this whole squad is built around. And, when Wesley's back and the like, that gives you potential to go to a 2 up top. But a lot of people say this, don't they? It's like, when Wesley's back, we can play 2 up front. And it's like, that's not as easy as it sounds, because do you then play a 4-4-2? Which midfield pairing do you play in a 4-4-2? I mean, if you play, you can't play Luiz and McGinn in a 2 in midfield, because bless them, they haven't got the physicality. We've seen tonight, if you play them against a 3-man midfield and you're playing a 4-4-2, they just get overrun.
Yeah.
Do you want to go to a 3-5-2, but then do you play the wingers in the wide spots, or do you play the fullbacks? It's not as easy as, oh well, Wesley's coming back, this gives us a plan B. It's there's actually a lot more to read into it than that. And so Villa's sort of plan B, or the lack of, has been something that we've noted about Dean Smith for some time, and it's frustrating that it hasn't been addressed. But perhaps he hasn't had the tools, and I didn't really agree with Sanson being brought on tonight. Seemed a bit of a baptism of fire, to be honest with you, in that game. I think for him, just throwing him on with 10 minutes to go against a side that are running away with that midfield seemed a bit harsh. I think you're probably best off at that point just leaving him until the weekend, and giving him that start against Arsenal. But what I saw from Jesse Lingard tonight, Dan, was everything that I want to see from Ross Barkley.
Yeah, no,
and that's frustrating. But I'm going to throw it, before I throw it back to you, mate. There's a chance on the half an hour mark. Don't know if you remember it. A free kick gets swung in, drops to Ross about 8 yards out, and he volleys it. It goes wide of the post. That probably should have gone in, and that just summed up his game, didn't it? From that one on, it could have been a different game, but it just wasn't to be for Ross tonight.
Yeah, I feel like Villa just tried to play it too cute, and we have this way of playing where we like to try and do these nice little one touch, this flick. We go for the eye of the needle pass all the time, and it clearly doesn't pay off, especially when you're as organised, you're as well drilled, and as physical as West Ham are. Yeah, sure, you can pass the ball around. You've got to be quick enough. You've got to make them right decisions. West Ham knew exactly where Villa were every single time. Ross Barkley knew that ball, he's going to look for Jack Grealish every single time. And there was a real lack of awareness from Villa's midfield tonight. And, particularly with Ross, particularly with McGinn. Didn't feel like McGinn had a very good game at all. But, with Ross, it was, when things are going really well, Ross Barkley's your man. That's he's not the kind of guy, clearly, to pick you up out of a rut, drive Villa forward, because we'd seen it. He second guesses himself when he's in that position, when he has to drive the ball forward. When he has time to think about it, he doesn't know what to do. And especially with how they nullified Jack, that's his out ball. 1-2 with Grealish, float around Grealish. Defenders Grealish draws defenders in, Ross Barkley's in space. But Jack Grealish was MIA, not his fault. I mean, wonderfully deployed tactic by West Ham. Koufal and Fredericks did absolutely what they had to keep our captain quiet. So I felt like Ross was really lost tonight. I don't think he has quite that relationship with everyone else in the squad. Sanson easily could have came on earlier, but it's that. And, for the second goal, it kind of epitomised Ross's performance perfectly. How Ross Barkley let Soucek get the run on him and to slot that ball in. Again, that came from Villa needlessly having to play upfield, play a long ball. Mings had to play it because there's no options from that midfield. The midfield was stagnant. They were standing there. Mings had to play that ball long, and it invites pressure on when you do that. And Barkley caught ball watching. As soon as Soucek ran past him, first thing he does, looks over his shoulder, see who he can blame, Ross Barkley. And it was a great goal from Soucek. The midfield have to be more aware of them runners. I mean, come on, he's 6'4", man. You should be able to spot a 6'4" runner from the midfield. Let's be honest. And that, I feel like that passage of play just summed up Villa all night. And I think this is the first and only podcast where I'm going to say, Dan, Emi Martinez, what the hell?
Oh yeah,
what the hell? He had a trim. I felt that can't have been that can't have been Emi tonight. He had a stinker, especially for that third goal.
That was not. But that's the first time I've ever looked at something Emi's done this season and gone, could have done better than there, mate. And that
it's a lack of confidence, Dan. It's a lack of confidence. Yeah. But he looked. I've never seen him like that, man.
Yeah, it was. It really, this Villa side really win and lose as a team, don't they? There's such a sense of togetherness in the squad, and you can sort of felt that whole lack of confidence just dropping as the tides turn and the game seemed more obvious as to how it was going to play out. You saw Villa sort of regress a little bit and ultimately accept it. And look, that Emi goal is. So the Lingard second goal that Emi should have done better with. It's one of those where he'll recover, he'll bounce back. If there's anyone in the squad that I'd bet my bank on, it would be Emi. But it wasn't. This is a bit of a hoodoo really for Villa, Dan. I mean, we haven't beaten West Ham in 5 now. Last time we beat them was 2015. It was 1-0 at Villa Park. Funnily enough, Tom Cleverley scored that day. what is it about Manchester United loanees and Villa Park, West Ham against Villa? Who knows? But also the month of February, man. Now I don't know what it is. The love is clearly not in the air for the Villa boys in February. We've lost 15 of our last 17 games in all competitions in the month of February. So it doesn't make for particularly nice reading looking at the month ahead. But we got a nice goal. Let's talk some positives, Dan. I think we got a nice goal, Jack. It probably says a lot about West Ham tonight that it took a ball of that quality from Jack to unzip West Ham, and it was a really nice finish from Ollie. Got to hand it to him. Really happy to see him go out and get another goal tonight. I wish it could have been in better circumstances, but that's almost a goal every other game for Ollie this season. Which, when you consider the little drought that he went through, to have 9 from 20 this season is really nice. Add to that a couple of assists, and you're getting a goal contribution more than every other game. He's in, that's also 3 goals, 1 assist in his last 4. That's something to be smiling about, mate, for sure. And Jack, that's 3 games in a row now. I think he's provided an assist, unless I'm mistaken.
It was a really good finish by Ollie, and if there's anyone who I feel sorry for in this team, it's him, because he does get a lot of unwarranted stick from the fans on social media. And rival fans as well, to be honest. They're kind of looking at Watkins and going, well, he's not quite Timo Werner yet, but I mean, I find it mad to say, considering the amount of goals he scored. Obviously 11 goals this season on comps is remarkable, and what's even funnier is that he could have had a lot more if it wasn't for VAR. So when I watch Ollie, I'm just filled with joy. He's a proper forward that we've not had at the club for the longest time. Even comparing him to someone like Tammy Abraham, Tammy didn't do what Ollie does. He just doesn't. No. Tammy scored the goals. Tammy knew where the onion bag was, knew how to hit it. But at the end of the day, Ollie Watkins overall, he works so hard, and when he gets a goal, I think I actually get more excited when he scores than when Jack does. He deserves
you really want him to do well, don't you? Yeah.
You see him. You clipped the outside of the post earlier. He's the first one to berate himself. I was worried when I saw the Instagram story of him reading a book on like how to deal with criticism. I'm thinking, bloody hell, have we he's not.
He's been here like 4 months.
Yeah, literally, that sums it up. What life is playing for Aston Villa, it really does. Adored by many, of course, but. It was a nice passage of play. The ball from Jack Grealish, sensational. He's afforded that space. Ogbonna caught ball watching, allows Ollie that space to run in. But Jack, that's the ability that Jack Grealish has. He draws Ogbonna out. He draws Cresswell out. It's a perfectly weighted ball. Ollie, clinical as ever to finish that chance. Really good for him. I'm sure a lot of FPL players will be delighted with a Grealish assist and an Ollie Watkins goal, because Emi Martinez, he's in about 40% of people's teams, and he's
letting people down.
Tonight he has, So, well, we're not going to look too much into that, Dan. I just had to say that was a really poor performance from Emi, and to be honest, Dan, I felt like after the Liverpool game, and we said this on the stream, and I think we said this on the stream because the West Ham game hadn't happened by the time we'd recorded the podcast, but I felt like it was a good time to play West Ham. I feel like we're not going to get a better time to play Arsenal, Dan. Two red cards against Wolves the other night. David Luiz went, which was scandalous. Even the Leno one, absolutely. Officials in this country are an absolute joke, but they're going to play. Matt Ryan's injured, so I think it may be the young lad who played in the FA Cup that will feature. His name has escaped me. That's the one.
Runnison, wrong one. Got my sons mixed up.
We can forgive you for that, Dan. It's okay. So there are some positives to be taken. Arsenal don't look this impenetrable force, but I mean it's still going to be tough, Dan, especially if Villa perform anything like that tonight.
Yeah, the problem is, mate, is that, with Arsenal of late, you really don't know what side is going to turn up on any given day. I mean, if you look back at their recent results, they had that 4-0 win at the Baggies, which was really impressive, wasn't it? That they looked really good that day. Yeah. I mean, I know it's against West Brom, Pinch of Salt and all that, but they played really well. They went to beat Newcastle in the FA Cup, it's suddenly looking rosy. They then looked piss poor in a 0-0 draw with Palace at home. They then go back to Newcastle, beat them 3-1. They then, again, in the FA Cup, looked absolutely abysmal as they lose to Southampton. Literally 3 days later, against exactly the same team, look like world beaters as they go back down to the South Coast, beating 3-1. Then draw with 0-0 in a fairly unremarkable performance, and then go back to the Arsenal of old. In the Wolves game, it's really hard to predict what to expect from this game, because I'm not sure you know what Arsenal you're going to get, but the same on exactly the same side of the coin, mate. Who knows what Villa are going to turn up? We've seen so many different Villa sides in the last few games. Things look really good against Newcastle. We then saw the capitulation at Burnley. We saw, perhaps a bit of fortune, but certainly some resoluteness against Southampton, to then the complete antithesis of that tonight. It's two sides who sit 9th and 10th in the Premier League this season largely because of inconsistency over the last month. And for Arsenal, it's hard to say exactly what you're going to get, but it's nice to see an early kickoff. Been a while.
Yeah, for once.
Yeah.
I mean, we can actually get
12.
the podcast out at a good time, Dan. Hopefully I'll be at the game,
sure.
So it'll still be later, but
nice.
It won't be at an offensive time like tonight's probably will be. It's probably the next day as you guys are watching this. It's probably Thursday now, but it is gonna be tough, Dan. And we're seeing Leeds pick up points. Struggled tonight though. I mean, they really struggled tonight against Everton. Lost 2-1, but looking at the table, they're just below Arsenal. It's if we're serious about mounting this challenge, Dan, we've got to start winning these games. We really do. We've got some.
Yeah, we've got to start this. Yeah,
we've got some difficult games coming up after this one, Dan. So if we can get some points against an Arsenal that are hurting, let's be real. Despite a wonderful goal from Pepe, nice to see him actually turn up. In the Premier League. Yeah, really good goal against Wolves. Despite the circumstances, but I mean, let's be honest. These past two games, this match week has been absolutely bizarre, Dan. We saw a 9-0 from Southampton, from Manchester United against Southampton, sorry, with two red cards in that. There was 2 red cards in, obviously, the Arsenal game. There was a penalty that Man City definitely should have got on a foul on Gabriel Jesus earlier tonight. Things just, flipped
Liverpool
on their head,
lost
man.
at home today.
1-0 to Brighton, of course, and they only just walked through West Ham, so who knows what to expect. All we know is that we got to back the Villa boys to the hill, Dan. I think that's a good note to end this podcast on. Villa outclassed. Sure. Villa have got to show up against Arsenal. Will we see Sanson? What are you guys thinking? Let us know your score predictions in the comments below. I'm not going to ask for a man of the match tonight because there wasn't one.
There was one.
No, there really wasn't one. So let us know your predictions for our game against Arsenal in the comments below. And what you thought of Morgan Sanson tonight? I mean, we didn't really touch on him too much, Dan. I thought he was tidy. Hopefully we see some more of him against Arsenal. So as I say, let us know in the comments below. And if you're not, subscribe for more content. There will be another podcast after the Arsenal game. Up the Villa.